I love that.
Round 15. What is this nonsense?
Mate.
There's 9 weeks of footy left to go, Joe. What's going on?
Mate, what's going on is today was one of the best games of the season. Real finals pressure and intensity in that Adelaide versus Collingwood game. Oh, mate, it got me excited. The other game put me to sleep, but that game, the Pies Crom, mate, that game was insane.
Yeah. Sorry, just messaging people, getting the Twitter set up, Joe. Going to post on there. Hopefully get quite a few people coming in. I'm happy that North Melbourne didn't play, so I can say, hey, we didn't have the loss this week. My Supercoach team had a loss this week, so maybe I'll start off with that. Mate, Bailey Humphrey, it was this morning, and I'm like, yeah, doing all right. Projected score. Let's go. Didn't do the double. Didn't do the trade. And now I've had to, pay up again to get him in. So it's a real pain in the butt, Joe. How did your team go this week?
Look, my Supercoach team did really well. We're not going to talk too much about it because this is the footy fan cam. We leave the more Supercoach stuff for Monday. But I had a really good week. I scored 21-13. Nice. So I went up 1,500 spots. Currently ranked 2,200, which is in the top 1%. We've made it.
Smashing me at the moment. Tell you
we've made it all the way from 80,000 rank.
Yeah.
Now we're 22.
You're going to get in that top 1K later, Joe. It's going to be juicy, man. You're going to get into top 1K. You won't get the projected what you did last year, but yeah.
No. Last year was 120. Definitely won't get to that high, but hopefully another top 1,000 finish on the cards. But yeah, we're talking about footy this week. It was a great week. Can see Theo here got 2050. Well done, cracking 2K, Theo. Congratulations, mate. Your team is done. That's the dream, coming out of the bye with a finished team. Will Day, let's go. Oh, don't talk about Will Day to him. Don't mention Will Day to Big J. He'll be very sad about that.
No Will Days here. Who's this irrelevant player in Supercoach land? I don't know.
Doing well. Jen, how's it going, mate? Your Pies, up the Pies. That was a great win.
That game, one day we'll get you on, but that game today was pretty special. I haven't really been excited that often for a game that my team isn't playing, but it definitely happened today, I'll tell you what.
For sure. That was sensational. And yes, you did say it, Vin. Yes, Keys is the real deal. We both don't get him
in this week. This guy. I've done my trades already. I'm going to have no trades left probably after next week. I don't care.
There you go.
That's it, really. Yeah.
100%.
Done. We'll see.
G'day, Jono. How's it going? Looking forward to having you on the chat in a little bit. Steven's asking Libba or Sarong. It's got to be. I think it's Libba. I think Libba's safer, right?
Yeah. It's interesting, kind of, when Sean Darcy wasn't in, I think Jackson hit out a little bit more to Sarong. But now Darcy's come back. Brayshaw is definitely the number one target there. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think Lib is probably the safer. Coming off the bye, you'd hope the Dogs have a good run, in the next part. So,
yeah.
I think if I had to choose, it'd be Libba.
Yeah. Sportsnut, 1983, ranked 19K, but Hawthorn just tells me how bad we were. Look, yeah, that was a rough game, man. You're going to have up and downs as a Hawthorn supporter. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You had some great wins before this week.
Yeah.
At least you weren't as bad.
Ashings, but one was very close.
At least you weren't as bad as Shattered's team, mate. Shattered, the West Coast Eagles. What is
this, Shannon? Are you guys even in the AFL, or did you just phone it in this week? Played the game over Zoom. What's happened?
I don't know what happened. Our defense was just pretty weak.
Mm-hmm.
Just couldn't get our hands on the ball quick enough.
Yeah. They just looked like they weren't even trying anymore. Like the first quarter, okay. But the second quarter came in and the players weren't even running for it anymore.
Allowing the Swans players to get their hands on the ball.
Yep. Yeah, that's it, right?
That was one-way traffic. That was.
What-
Look, sometimes,
what-
at least because the game was over really early, you
Mhm.
could sort of come to grips and try and process the loss a lot earlier than most of us. Like the Crows, for example, had their hearts broken. You guys, on the other hand, their game was put to bed fairly early in halftime.
Mm.
I know.
What kind of happens from here, Shannon? Do you guys play out the year? Do you try and play the kids? Like, is it time to go for a lot of these older players who are up for contract? What's your plans?
To be honest, I think it's about time we get rid of the older players who are retiring. Like
Mhm.
Hearn will probably retire by the end of the year. Same
Yeah.
with McGovern. Probably Shuey.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Nick that. If he's not retiring next year, because I think he's got a year left on his contract.
Yeah, he's getting paid a lot of money not to do much.
Might have to get rid of some older players to make way for some younger players.
Yeah. I was saying to Joe, we might put out a video this week about kind of my thoughts with West Coast, but there's a lot of talent that
What's going
gets
on
picked
with
up
West
from the
Coast?
WA leagues that it isn't getting played. So bit crazy.
How close was that Collingwood Adelaide game? I knew I was watching that game right up until the last 2 minutes of the game.
And then Dawson got whacked in the head, started bleeding, and they didn't give him a free kick. So I don't know how that works out.
Yeah, the commentator said 10 of the 14 times that they trailed by 14 points at three-quarter time, and and they will take top spots into next week.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all right.
good.
Do you reckon Simpson keeps his job, Shannon?
I think Simpson should keep his job, but if things start to go wrong, if we keep losing games, then we might have no choice but to give him the sack or the boot.
Yeah. See, I just think, like, I've spoken about it before on other platforms, but not like I don't think it's Simpson's problem. He can only do what he can do with the list that's there. You guys have quite a few injuries, and yeah, if the players don't want to play, Simpson can't like kick them up the butt and then try and make them run harder on the field or go for those tackles or anything like that. Surely the players that don't want to be there should be gone, right?
And with the season so close coming to an end,
yep,
we still got the home run to go.
Pretty much.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on, Shannon. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Hopefully next week's a better game for you, Shannon. Who are you guys playing this week? Oh, St Kilda.
Saints.
You're playing at home, so
it's a home game for us, but I expect us to lose. Wouldn't be surprised if we won it. Wouldn't
the
be
way St Kilda are
surprised.
going. What a bad team, St Kilda. Oh.
I love it. I love it that you guys are playing the Saints. We've got a couple of boys waiting in the wings who are St Kilda fans. I love it. Talk yourselves up. Talk yourselves up, Shannon. Give the Eagles a chance, mate.
Yeah.
Get our heads in the game.
That's
there
it.
Go.
You
Done.
tell him, Shaz. Thanks for coming on, mate.
We'll catch you next time, Shannon.
Have a good one, man. Alrighty.
And I think we've got the counter punch from a couple of Saints supporters coming up too. So, yeah, they're not too happy about how this last couple of weeks have gone.
For sure. I can understand.
How do you feel about your team, Joe, this week before we jump on to the next person? Essendon were in the fight and then they weren't in the fight anymore.
I'll keep it quick. It's just one of those teams coming off the bye that are struggling to keep things moving. We've had a lot of change to our team. It was the second real point. We had a lot of change. So no Draper. He's really crucial for us energy-wise in the centre bounces. He's huge. Darcy Parish came in, changed the midfield mix-up. Kelly came back, changed the defensive mix-up. So we've had a lot of change to the team in a really short period of time. And coming off the bye, they had a rocket up their ass after getting killed by the Giants last week. We played in Perth. So a lot of things were going against us. I actually tipped the Freo Dockers to win this week. I could sense that we had a lot of things go against us. I knew that it was going to be tough, and it was tough to watch. I'll leave it at that. Yeah. We weren't even contenders, Yanko. Take it easy, mate. We didn't hype ourselves up. We've been saying from the beginning. Brad's been saying from the beginning. It's a long process. It's about trusting the process. It's going to take time. Young group, etc., etc. But
100%.
Let's bring on the next people, Big J.
Jono, mate, how you doing?
Good, yourself?
Yeah, doing well.
That's the way.
How have you found football this weekend?
I mean, it started a bit sluggish for me on Friday night, but we got through that. Got to see my brother have a win in soccer, so that lifted the spirits pretty quick.
That's cool.
So,
Good night, Jono.
Yeah,
it's good.
There's a few close games, and then the Sydney game was a bit of a blowout. I was almost hoping that they would kick an extra 30-odd points so they could win by 200. It looks a lot better than like 170 on the record books, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
How's the Supercoach team going?
So far, so good. I'm currently now inside the top 5K.
Nice.
2007-21.
Very, very nice.
Congrats, Jono. How good was Steele? Steele bounced back for you?
Mate.
Back to his best.
Not happy, Jan. Not happy.
And I noticed it straight away as soon as I was game. Because I was level 3 at the game. I'm like, I can't see any strapping on Steele's league. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because he took a bit of flack from the coach and from the media, like during the week, saying, "Oh, no, he's okay," you know. And then it was like, "Oh no, we're going to manage him. He's still dealing with problems and whatever." And then he had a pretty decent game. From memory, what did he have? Like 9 or 10 tackles and a few contested possessions and things. Like he was definitely coming back into form. A lot more than what we've seen recently. Yeah, 12 tackles, right? So pretty good.
Which definitely helps the scoring.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I mean, what was it that I suppose lost you the game this week? Ultimately, the big talking point this week.
Long kicks down the line straight to Harris Andrews.
Yes.
Over and over and over again.
Yep.
Was I watching Hawthorn, the Hawthorn game again when Sicily was doing it to us?
Yep.
So,
intercept defenders, man. It's going to be interesting where Himmelberg goes because he's the next one up for a good contract. But these intercept defenders, 1 or 2 on your team, just allow you to dominate. I think it's what's made Melbourne so strong in the past has been May and Lever, right? Like you just can't get the ball like into the forward 50. So strong marking team like St Kilda. Surprised you guys didn't they didn't try and run the ball a little bit more or like do short kicks instead of just your major bomb. But that's it, right?
There was a change after halftime where either Nazai ran past or someone else ran past and we got the ball moving in motion. But there was none of that in the first half. It was too little too late.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and also I got to say, is there anyone more stiff than Burns? He kicks the goal.
That was so bad.
Comes off the field.
That was so bad.
I was wondering, we were watching the game. And we're just like, oh, Voss on the phone here with him. And what's going on? All of a sudden we just see, wait a second. Has he been subbed off? He's probably telling him, I'm sorry, mate. You're really stiff here. It was a great goal. Yeah. Well done. But stood up the rest of this game.
I would have preferred someone else to be subbed, but anyway.
Oh, reminds me of those times when the players, like, they'll kick a goal and they'll immediately run to the bench. I'm like, I think just watching it at the pub with Joe, and I'm like, what? Surely you can't be subbed off. Cooper Sharman subbed off. Like, Joe's like, no, he's got the green on Cooper Sharman and Burns is in the red. I'm like, mate, you can't do that to a player. The kid looks so sad on the bench. He's got his jersey over his head. Like, what more can I do, right?
No, he's an up-and-coming star for us as well. He'll be one to watch.
Yeah, 100%. Who would you have wanted to get subbed off instead?
Dougal Howard again.
Yeah, Dukes is letting the fam down. I don't know what's going on with Dukes.
Yeah. So, and then it would have shifted. I don't know who would have taken King in that instance, but you could play Sharman down forward.
Yep.
Battle could go to Danaher. He's more than capable. So, options. But anyway.
Should have just let Dougal Howard come to North Melbourne, Not even bother, right? Just be like, nah.
What? So another Port Adelaide player on big money again?
Yeah, done. We'll take him. We've got enough money in the bank. He's only got to play half a season, so yeah, done. Done.
That would be awesome. That's nice.
Done.
Isaiah Wangley Miller has come on in spades.
I know.
Doing
So
what we
frustrating.
knew he was capable of doing, the bastard.
Yeah.
He and Mitch Owens our best under 25s.
Yeah.
This year, hands down.
Yeah. He's a very good player. I think it's just slowly trying to work out a bit of a mix, like adapting to kind of each team's different situation. Like, I think if you're versing a team that didn't have very strong defenders, right, that kind of bombing it into the forward line would have worked perfect because you've got the marking targets. But versus a team like that, it's a bit different. So maybe it's the coach or the actual players just, hey, we've got to adapt and be able to not do this again.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Well, I was reading it. You saw a lot of chip mark before the buy, and now post buy we're going, well, slow it up, and then bombing down the line.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not working.
No,
Change
it's
it
not.
back to how it was.
Do you think they're scared to lose the ladder position? Like that's why they're doing it. They're like, oh, let's try and do this because if we lose any more games, then we're going to be back to we're not going to be in the top 8 anymore, and then it's going to be even harder for us to have a chance at making finals this year.
Probably a bit of both. It comes down to probably there hasn't been as much experience on the field as previous years, if I'm being honest. So it's probably a bit of both youth and experience. So, but
see what happens, eh?
Hopefully, I won't be able to watch the game on Sunday, but I'm hoping I can see a W against
and percentage booster and a percentage. Sorry, Shannon, I'm not sure. Oh no, there's no way. There's no way that could happen. There's no way.
No. If you guys lose, then mate, you're in a bit of trouble.
No.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Done.
Well, I hope you stick around, Jono, because
so percentage
as a Saints
currently
man,
is 109.
Yep.
You go.
Mate, well, I hope you stick around, Jono, because as a Saints man, you will more than definitely know who our next guest is going to be on. So hope you stick around, mate. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us tonight, mate.
Good. Too easy.
Have a good one, man.
Okay.
See ya.
The Saints.
Go the Saints. And with that, boys and girls, anyone alive, basically living and breathing with eyes, behold in all of his magnificence. It is Jake from
such a build up. Such a build up, boys.
How's it going, Jake?
Good. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, all right. I'd say all right. Good's probably a bit too high up on the pedestal, but yeah, no, it's all right. I'm dissecting Friday still and reading all the comments and just absorbing everyone's emotions. Bit of a mixed bag. Some people see the light and think this is just this, little speed bump, and other people are a bit more, I guess, less forgiving about the performance. So
yeah,
I'm leaning more towards. There's a bit of perspective we need to have. There's, youngsters that started the year exceeding expectations. They played well out of their skin, and they've just stabilized the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm not too worried. I'm cautious about Sunday, especially West Coast over there. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a lot closer than people think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm feeling all right. How are you boys?
That much? You have that much? This game on Friday night.
He's feeling pain, isn't he, Joe?
It's not.
He's
It's
definitely
just
feeling it.
football is football. You know, things happen. Crazy things happen unless you turn up. So we didn't turn up on Friday, and we can't. The last time we were heavy favourites was against Hawthorn, and we walked into that game acting like rock stars, thinking it was just going to happen. You can't do that against even a team like West Coast that are struggling. You got to turn up.
Yeah.
And if you don't and you get the win, you don't improve. You don't get anything out of it, and fans will know that feels like a loss.
Yeah.
We want to go there, and what Sydney did, obviously, on the surface, people will just kind of look over it because West Coast are where they are. They're struggling. But it's an opportunity to get form again, to get players that are out of form, get their confidence up, get the W, and a bit of percentage won't hurt. We're 109. So we're chasing the top four, who are upwards near 120. So I think they've all played West Coast, to be honest. So that's probably where the difference is. But yeah, got to be cautious a little bit.
Jono's saying St Kilda haven't turned up for any of Spud's games in the past, and this one this year, right?
Well, yeah, any stats man would know. We've had 3 Spuds games and we've lost all 3 pretty comprehensively. They've not been a spectacle. There's not been excitement at all. I mean, the first one was against Melbourne. We got done pretty comfortably. Bombers, I mean, you would know, mate. After my last year, we were shocking that day, and you guys played probably the best 4 quarters you played all last year, to be honest.
Correct.
You were amazing that day. And then, on Friday night, it was annoying because we was like, you guys watched it, or most of it.
Yeah.
We were within 18 points for about 80% of that game. It's like you were waiting for maybe a 5-10 minute burst. I was like, this game is dying for a Max King clunking goal, and then momentum's on. We're on, you know?
Yeah.
And Kingy got it was one of those nights for him. He kicked the long bomb, it drifted and bounced to the behind, and then the touch, out of the ruck. That was within 10 points we would have been. And it's like, for as bad as we were, to be within 10 points of Brizzy, who were pretty good. Like, they were pretty clean. I wouldn't say they were bad. That's not bad, We've lost to Collingwood, Port, Brisbane, the top 3, and then the Crows in Adelaide, who almost beat Collingwood today. And then our only other loss was Richmond, and then Hawthorn was the disappointing one. But even they've beaten Brisbane. So,
correct.
We haven't lost to too many teams that have been struggling, I guess. So I'm not. I'm still comfortable with where we're at. I think we should make finals from here anyway. But I know, some Saners will disagree.
Yeah, just seems like what we were talking about with Jono about a bit of a game plan change. Like pre-buy, it was a lot more electrifying, quick movement, that kind of thing. And now post-buy, it's just bomb it forward. The old North Melbourne, when under pressure, bomb it forward. Hopefully Ben Brown, and in your case, Max King, or one of like Mitch Owens or Caminiti goes for the mark. So, is there been there hasn't been any structural changes, right, at the Saints that's forced that? Do you think it's just like a burnout thing?
I mean, definitely having Kingy back, I think, is taking some time to adjust. I think, the first 6 or 7 weeks, we were kicking goals from Owens, Filippo, Caminiti, Gresh, Higgins, Butler. Even the mids were going forward. Sinks. Hilly's doing well. He's getting goals now too, which is nice to see. He's been in very good form. So hopefully he gets credit in the AFL world, because I think he's been very good the last 2 weeks despite losing. Yeah. But I think it's, like I said before, the youngsters lived up to the hype in the first 10 weeks. Kingy's come back, and that just invites going down the line. When you see Max King, you're like, okay, kick it to him. Yeah. We're more predictable now for ourselves, but also it's a disadvantage because we're predictable to the opposition. They know man up Max King or run off him, intercept. They played off Caminiti on Friday. As much as people think maybe Max King had a bit of a mare, they really did target Caminiti and know that if the ball hits the deck, he's not he's not going to catch them. He's not going to do much. And
Mango
there you
saying
go.
he
Yeah,
has a missing memory. Yeah.
absolutely. That memories, that perfect lead up between the arcs, and we don't have that at the moment. Caminiti's not doing it. First 10 minutes of the game on Friday, when I saw Owens and King and Caminiti just pointing on top of their heads, like put it on our heads, I was like, with Harris Andrews in the form that he's in, Starcevic, even Payne, he's underrated. He's good.
He is.
They're all
He's
good.
a good player. Yeah.
Yeah, he does his job every week. He's not a superstar, but he just does what he needs to do. And it played into their hands, and we did that against Hawthorn. We've done that. We didn't do it last week. The Richmond loss, I think, wasn't bad. We, laid over 70 tackles. We did again on Friday. So for some people saying, oh, we didn't turn up, we didn't try, I think we did. I think there's a few things that need to be shuffled around, and hopefully this week we'll see it. Jack Billings, he dominated VFL. Dan McKenzie as well returned. Zach Jones returned. I think he's really important for the midfield.
Yeah.
We're just 2-1 paced in the middle. I think that's probably our biggest issue.
If hypothetically, if you guys don't make finals this year and you finish up in September, what type of player are you looking forward bringing in, like during the trade period? Kind of assessing.
I would love I think there's two. It would be just a gun mid, or just an explosive mid that's good on the inside and the outside. And a lot of people didn't want him in the off season, but a Jordan De Goey type would have been amazing. I think we'd lack that big time. We hope that Gresham would be that player. I don't think he'll be there, come this time next year. That'll be a big topic of discussion in the next 6 weeks.
Someone's going to poach him in the trade period, you reckon?
Yeah, whether Carlton are that interested or other clubs are looking remains to be seen. But we hoped he would be that player, and it hasn't turned out. And I think a Himmelberg would be very nice in the back line. I think you guys talked about him before, but I think Dukes is struggled the last 2 weeks. I don't think he was that bad on Friday night. I think he was better. Although Hipwood did kick 4, but I don't think a lot of those were to do directly with Dukes, as opposed to the week before where Dukes stuffed up 4 times and Richmond kicked 3 goals. And he was subbed off pretty early in the game. So that was a signal already that he's having a bad day.
John was saying he would love Tom Doty at the club. Obviously, like with no ACL problems, because he's going to be out for majority of next year, right?
Yeah, I think I get what John was saying, but I just think if we want to bring players in, I want them ready round 1. You want an off season. You want to be fully prepped. You're not bringing in someone like that and hinging your hopes on someone like that if they're not going to play more than 6 games in a season. Unless you're like Tom Highmore. Yeah, he's at Sandy.
Yeah.
He's at Sandy, and he's doing a very, very good job. Every week he's upwards of 20 touches and 10 marks, and pretty comfortably in the top 5 every week for Sandringham. Jack Bytel as well. Hey,
he just can't get a game.
Get a game. Yeah, I don't think he's played. Also, he hasn't played under Ross, so there might be something that he's working on. I know Jack Bytel, like Windhager, has kind of had to earn his stripes a little bit at VFL level. Ronnie Burns, love him, but he was having a tough one on Friday. He was before that goal. Yeah. So, I mean, bad timing, but it probably would have been, something that I thought that we needed more height anyway. And Sharman's versatile. He can play back, he can play forward, and he can play on the wing. He did that in the off season, and it wasn't bad. So I think he would have been my sub, Ronnie Burns. As much as I love him, he would have been my sub. Maybe not that early, but I don't think, it wasn't a huge surprise when I saw it. I didn't see the footage of him being upset, so maybe that changes people's opinions of the timing of it. But when I saw it and he was off, I'm like, oh, okay. That's Ross Lyon for you, He doesn't care if you've just kicked a goal.
Correct.
It's not just about the goals.
I'm not here to congratulations, but you're going to sit out, mate. We need more height. We need to change the look of this game. Ross is the boss, right? He makes these tough calls.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make friends.
Exactly.
Nah. He wants the W's. That's what he wants. And people think that, he's here just to cruise in the first year. He wants to win games. You can tell he's competitive. He's one of those coaches, And I think, getting West Coast on Sunday is going to be something that could potentially just give us that little bit of confidence that we need. I think we're a confidence-based team, more so than a lot of the teams around us because we lack that A grade talent. And we need that momentum. So hopefully Sunday we can get that, because the next 6 weeks it's pretty kind to us. Like if you look at the fixture, we've got Melbourne after West Coast, but then we've got a mix of like I don't know if we play North again in that time. Do we?
Let's see.
Was that after that?
We've
We've got Hawthorn again. I know that.
Eagles, Melbourne, Suns away,
Yeah.
North at Marvel, Hawks at Marvel,
Yeah.
Carlton Marvel, Richmond Marvel,
There you go.
Geelong
Marvel.
Marvel.
We've got
So you got a
5.
lot of Marvel games.
There's
and then the
5 in a
last
row.
week-
Yeah, before we go to Brizzy, play them at the Gabba. So there's 5 in a row at Marvel.
That's bonkers.
So it's in our favor. If we don't make finals, it's really we've stuffed up massively again. Like we've got 8 wins. You probably need 12 to sneak in. 13 definitely gets you in, I reckon. It's 5 of our next 8 or 9. It's possible.
I think
It's
this
possible.
game against West Coast comes at a good time for you. I mean, it was because you saying that, like, we were expecting a burst. I really was. I'm like, you kick a goal and then I'll be like, all right, here we go. Like this could be the one that gets you going. And then when you had that ruck, the goal out of the ruck, I'm thinking, right, here we go, we're going. And then as soon as when they overturned it, I'm like, oh, I hope that's not a deflating one.
It's the goals at the end of every quarter in the last 30 seconds. I swear they'd kicked it. They literally kicked it on the final siren. Cameron kicked it on the final siren. And I'm like, well, that's the game. 3/4 time. I mean, Brad Hill kicks that goal with about 39 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. Beautiful running goal. One end to the other we went. I'm like, okay, here we go. We're running. We're kicking goals. We're within 16 points. And I looked at the clock on my app and it's like 39 seconds. Cool. Get to 3/4 time at 16 points. That's very, very winnable in a burst in football, And then they literally get a couple of handballs so clinical out of the middle. Dunkley, Neal, whoever it was, Ashcroft, name all of them. And then they hit up Hitwood or Danaher, and then on the siren they take a set shot and kick it, and it's 22 points again. I'm like, nah, you can't allow that. Top teams do not allow junk time goals. Like Collingwood don't. Collingwood are the ones that kick them.
Yeah,
correct.
They're the opposite.
The bastards that keep doing it all the time. I wish my boys could do it.
I'm happy that they got over the line today. It just keeps us in 5th position for the 7th week in a row.
I know, right?
So, I mean, we've only won 2 or 3 of our last 6 or 7. So considering that,
and you're still knocking on the top 4, still knocking on the door of the top 4.
And people are like, "Oh, we're not the best. We're not the 5th best team in the comp." I'm like, well, if we weren't, then why aren't the other teams around us going above us? They're dropping games as much as we are. Essendon have dropped a few games they should have won. The Dogs have definitely done that. The Crows have done that. Geelong have done that. It's really Collingwood and Port that are the 2 most consistent, and then everyone else is, chasing.
Correct.
I don't really see a top 4 right now. I see a top 2 and then a bit of a gap.
Brisbane losing to the Hawks.
That too. Brisbane, I just wish we pushed them. I wish we just got in their face. We just made it very easy for them. I think Brisbane are the sort of team that if you push and shove, you get in their face, you can get in their heads, and you can beat them there mentally. Yeah. And we didn't do that. We just let them go about their business for 4 quarters, and it was too easy.
Before you head off, how do you feel about how do you feel about Thursday night games? You're a fan? You're not a fan? We've got a few coming up, I think.
I like them. Yeah, I like them. It kind of stuffs my schedule in some way, just content-wise, because I like to post things on the Thursday night, and I'm like, oh, shit, everyone's watching the footy. Like a preview, or it might be a preview for a Sunday game, or the teams come out or something for our game. It's kind of like, content-wise, it's bad. But as a fan, I like it.
Yeah. Same
should happen every week.
Well.
100%. Like, more footy. Give me an extra night of prime time footy, man. 100%.
It probably stuffs tipping comps, though. Like, I'll probably forget to tip and, because I'll get the reminder on the Thursday. I'm like, oh, okay, I better put my tips in. But then the game's already on. I'm like, all right, I've missed that
Tipping
one.
is luck for me this year now at this point. Like, honestly, like, so many upsets every week these days. I'm feeling that to the point where it's almost like a bit of a toss of the coin sometimes.
Yeah, I think I got 2 or 3 this week, so not great, but
mine was pretty average.
Yeah,
I mean, I I tipped your boys to get up. I tipped the Saints. I tipped Melbourne. I thought Geelong weren't going to hot shot, but of course I shouldn't have done that because they're playing in Geelong and Melbourne were coming off the bye, which is a recipe for disaster. I did tip Freo, and so I got those. Those were the two that I got wrong. I tipped you guys and I tipped Melbourne.
Do you boys think we'll scratch finals? Do you think we'll get there in the end, despite this little slump?
So you need 5 games. I reckon you beat the Eagles. I reckon you beat the Suns. I reckon you beat North. I reckon you make amends for Hawthorn's game. And then I reckon at Marvel, Richmond don't like to play at Marvel. There's no
We've
soul
got Carlton
there, right?
again. We've got Carlton again.
And Carlton's at
that'll be
Marvel. That's
tough,
an
but-
interesting one.
Yeah.
So I reckon you sneak in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close. If not sneak in, you'll be like 1 or 2 off. So yeah, not too bad.
I'll take that. I'll take that, boys. You're pumping up my tires. Thanks very much on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
You are very welcome. Hopefully you come into Monday morning feeling still. It's not the end of the world. Many teams lose to Brisbane. It's it's not disgraceful. Richmond at the MCG. A lot of teams lose to Richmond at the MCG in wet conditions. That's not disgraceful. You beat the Swans over there. That was a great game. Really the only 2 bad losses I think you've had till this point were that Hawthorn loss
and Adelaide.
and the Adelaide loss. Those are the only 2 real bad games. And as you say, apart from the top 2 even Port was smashed by Collingwood in the second round or something.
Yeah, the top 2 was 7 points to Port and 6 points to Pies. So we lost to both of them by under 10 points. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be going around because I have been seeing people on social media be like, oh, as you say, we're not the 5th best team. Why are we 5th on the ladder? Hey, every team is having bad games. There's no team being consistent in their output. St Kilda have been pretty consistent and pretty inaccurate as well in front of goal too.
Yeah, that was the first time all season we've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how many teams. I know Port started the year with 2 losses in a row. Brisbane have lost 2 in a row. I think only Collingwood before this round and us would have been the only 2 teams to not lose 2 in a row. Perhaps.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Anyway, we live and we learn. We'll move on.
Yep.
100%. Any changes you expect to see to the side going into next week?
Seb Ross was managed this week, so I don't know if he's going to come straight in, build leadership, bit of grunt against a weakened West Coast. I think Jack Billings, I'd love to see him play. I think it'd be a good game to get him in. He kicked 3 and had 26 or something on the weekend. Vital was very good, so again, he could come in for maybe a Ronnie Burns. Who else is there? Highmore. I don't see much shuffling in the back 6. I just don't. Ross hasn't changed the back 6. I think we've used the least amount of players all season, despite the injury list that we've had for most of the season. That's pretty crazy. Some sayers, and I might tend to agree that not rotating enough has stagnated sort of the performances. Everyone's gotten a bit comfortable. And you love a bit of selection integrity when there's players, performing every week at VFL level. Give him a go.
Yeah.
Tom Campbell, even in the ruck, it allows Rowe to rest forward, and he's dangerous forward. We haven't seen that yet. He's played the ruck all year on his own.
You have played the least number of players this year. I've actually pulled up the Wheelo ratings. I don't know if you know that website. I have just pulled it up now. You have used the least number of players. 28 players you've used.
Look at me with my numbers. Jeez. I must know something.
Yeah, you are the only one within the 20s. Next is Richmond with 31.
There you go. And our injury list is the other end, where it would have been the most at the start of the year,
Yeah.
So Ross has really picked a 22 to 26 squad that he's really liked and stuck to that as much as he can, which I think he should break that trend this week. He should. We need a bit of a refresh, I think. Give Steely a week off. I know that the previous person said Steely was good, and I do agree, but I love that he's laying 12 tackles, but I want Steely on the ball and using it well and getting forward and kicking goals. That's what he was doing in 2020 and 2021 so effectively. It wasn't just tackles. Hopefully this is one step forward, getting that tackle side back, but I still think with the ball in hand, there's a lot to improve. A lot to improve.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Here.
Will we see you on fan cams this week, Jake?
Hey?
Fancast? Will we see you on Fancast this week?
Well, yeah, Saints play on the Sunday, so I think are we going to be doing it on Friday? Is that locked in?
I assume
For
so.
the listeners, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
I should be able to make it then. Should be fun.
Nice.
What's the Friday night game? Is it good?
Friday night
Oh, I've got it
game
right here,
will
actually. It's
be
Geelong, Sydney. In
Geelong,
Sydney.
Sydney.
Yeah. Not too bad.
SCG
That'll
how
be
we go.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
coming off the Brisbane hosting Richmond at the Gabba on Thursday night. That would also be interesting.
That's a good game. Yeah.
The two big cats. Richmond love slippery conditions. You know,
I'm kind of keen for the Suns and Collingwood over there in Queensland.
come on, Suns.
Yeah, I've got a feeling. I don't know.
Can the
Got a weird feeling
Suns?
there. And the Bombers Port, that'll be good. Hawthorn Carlton. Very close eye on that one.
Yeah.
Very close eye on that one.
100%. Now, some good games coming up this week, and then you guys to end the week on a high, hopefully.
$10.50 the Eagles. Do you reckon that's going to change?
Jeez.
Oh, it might go up.
Jeez. I have not seen odds. You are $1.05 on a Sunday night before things get shortened. Oh my God.
I've seen North Melbourne with worse numbers than that. So yeah, it's not
Fair
too
enough.
bad.
We'll see, boys. But
All
yeah,
right.
Friday night should be fun.
Beautiful. Thanks
All
so
right,
much,
Jake.
Jake.
Thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll see you next week on Sunday after the game. And yeah, okay, come on, let us know your thoughts. Hey,
Not if we
Where
lose,
can
mate. It's
people-
not happening.
where can people reach you if obviously do a bit of content stuff? So where can people reach you if they want to check out your stuff?
So just at Saints TV Pod on YouTube, Saints TV Facebook, Saints TV Pod Insta, Saints TV on TikTok, and Saints TV Podcast on your streams. We've got the president this week, so stay tuned for that. Should be
Nice. Yeah, I saw that.
really exciting for anyone
That's
that
pretty cool.
wants to listen to that. Yeah, should be fun.
El Presidente. Oh my God, mate. The Saints TV podcast absolutely popping off. Inspiration. Inspiration to us all. Well done, man.
Thanks,
All right.
boys.
Catch you, Jake.
Take care, boys. See ya.
Bye.
Oh,
Wow.
mate. That was pretty good. Hey, not too bad.
That was
Hopefully the
sensational.
fans get something out of that. We've got connections, just
Mate, we're not even
everyone-
finished with them yet. We're not even finished
No.
with them.
No, we're not.
You know what I mean?
Remember,
This
guys,
is next.
if you want to jump on the stream, have a chat. As it says in the banner, the description, in the description, it's got the invite link in there as well. So I know we had a couple of people who've jumped off in the end, and hopefully some other people who are ready to go. One person who has been waiting very patiently, someone who's just come off the bye, is Big Pommy. How you doing, Pommy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. How does it feel to kind of have a week off and not have to worry about your team losing or winning during the week?
It's genuinely my favourite time of the year. Genuinely,
Yeah.
I like the week off. It gives you a little bit of a break. Everyone else is worried about their team. I get to just sit down and chill out, really, and just become a soccer fan. Different content creator to others, though. I mean, obviously, Jake mentioned Carlton. Had to mention him. Do you know what I mean?
I have to. The blue baggers.
Do you know what I mean? I spend my YouTube career trying to avoid talking about my team and
Okay, fair
paying
enough.
other teams a bit of compliments. So there we are. But no, it's been a good week, hasn't it? And obviously tomorrow morning I'll be back on the Carlton train as I always am.
Yeah, I guess kind of we'll start off a little bit with a recap, right? So round 14, end of round 14, you guys had a pretty good win and probably a much needed win against Gold Coast, right?
They're all much needed, Jay.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you know what I mean? I think there's one thing this season's taught. I think people try and get a bit clever and say XYZ's not making finals. But I think this season's shown that aside from West Coast Eagles, and that's said with the greatest respect, they're really paying the price of going big for Tim Kelly and their list being lopsided. But you can't argue with the injuries. The injuries have taken a big toll. Simo's not a bad coach overnight. But apart from them, I'd say 17 sides on their day can beat 17 sides. Do you know what I mean? All it takes is you to be slightly off. Collingwood are really showing something, though. They've got heart. They've got fire. And I think the big thing about Collingwood, I hate talking too positively about them, even though Swoop's a good mate of mine. They enjoy it, don't they? There's some kind of perverted joy. I was watching the game today, and with 10 minutes to go, there's that like real enjoyment where, a lot of teams are in them situations, especially my Blue Boys, when we're down with a couple of minutes to go, you can see the bum twitch. Yep. Collingwood are the opposite. They're kind of like, this is good, man. You look and the camera zooms on the Dacos brothers, them Adonis, the Macedonian muscles pop in, and they look like they're having fun. Do you know what I mean? You've got Jeremy Howe doing Jeremy Howe tings, Braden Maynard, he gets up and about. It's a really intriguing season, and Collingwood will have their bad times. I think they are beatable, but I think this season's shown that if you think you're in the 8, that can change, because I think looking at the 8, 3 teams will drop out of that 8 by the end of the year. There's Pom's big call.
I definitely think so as well. And speaking to Jake, it's kind of just like, it's so tight at the moment. I know when we might plug Fancast a little bit, but we were talking about that this week. Like the top 4 kind of being a little bit locked, and then the rest of it's all just up for grabs, right? There's probably 3 or 4 teams outside the 8 who can come in. And then vice versa, probably the same that can go out. But no one's knocking Collingwood, Brisbane or Port kind of from that position now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Port will be all right. They've got Essendon this week, which will be an interesting game. Collingwood have got Gold Coast, which you'd imagine that would be. There's a couple of teams there that I think are fraudulent. I think Crows are one of the fraudulent sides. I know the media like to get about them because they give it a crack. But you look at their record outside of the AO, and the AO is Geelong cop a lot of hate for being good at Geelong.
Yep.
But the Adelaide teams never cop hate for being good at Adelaide. So it's a weird thing. Port have done tremendously well. I think they're the story of the season, to be honest. But Port, that side that I enjoy, the media never give them the raps. I don't think opposition fans give them the raps. Every time we play as a Carlton fan, I get the same story. They're small down the back. We're big. We'll kill them. But the problem is height doesn't stop speed. And I think they've done tremendously well. And I think Ken Hinckley, he's a coach that everyone likes to sack, isn't he? Like at the start of the year, he's getting sacked. But
everyone was kicking him out.
He continues to impress. So, I mean, I think that's impressive. And a few teams now having a Carlton, I call it 8-2 last year we were, and we started. It's very easy to do well with a new coach. You've got to remember that, especially when I don't really rate Ratton as a coach at St Kilda. I think he's a very good motivator, but I think he's one-dimensional, the opposite of Ross Lyon. And I think that stat doesn't surprise me. The least amount of players changed. I don't think he's the type of coach that does change. It was his issue at Fremantle. And I think you're starting to see Philippo. He plays him weirdly. Philippo's in kind of more of a provider role where you've signed him as an X-Factor talent. It's a very bizarre system. So it's going to be interesting how that pans out long term. Same with your boys, Essendon.
Yeah. So I am happy with how we're going. This week wasn't a great week. It was very frustrating to watch. Thought we were a bit too cute, overuse of the handball. Just play direct footy, mate. You got, if you have an opportunity to get the ball quick into 2-meter Peter, just do it. There's no need to do this stat padding nonsense and have, Darcy Parish in his first game back for the season, try and accumulate a lot of possessions. There's no need for that. I do think that we changed the apple cart up quite a bit this week, which is very unlike Brad up until this point. We've tended to have a fairly stable team, but Kelly came back. He changed the back line mix up. Darcy Parish came back. change the midfield mix up. So, and to Frio's credit, they brought the pressure. They were in our face and they hunted our players down, and we just went up to it. So this was probably one of those few weeks this year where I've come out very disappointed. But I understand it's a long season and teams are prone to having the odd bad game here or there. It's no bad. No, we're not Collingwood, unfortunately. They don't have bad games.
Or
I do think Essendon have been impressive, though. I mean, this week your tackle game really left you, didn't it? What was it? 50% of your tackles missed this week, which is I would say, if I'm going to pay Essendon compliments, I would say you were the most limp side last year. Like I actually was. I wouldn't say felt bad for you. I'd never feel bad for Essendon, but I did watch you guys play, and I felt you were very easy to beat. And there wasn't much heart. And that's one thing Scott's given you guys, a little bit of a hard edge. You're hard to break down. And interesting, that's what St Kilda have done as well. They're hard to break down. And the rugged, which I think only gets you so far. You're going to have to add that next layer. And I kind of like what Scott did with you. I know you lost, but look at Carlton. We've had to add another layer. You have to add another layer at times. And you've got to get it out of your system. And unfortunately, not everyone can be as fortunate as Collingwood having a super defensive coach who then the new coach comes in, goes, let's play some football. Let's release the shackles. And the fixes that Fly has done, as marvellous as they are, have been probably easier than go stop conceding goals and then work the other way. Every other side is going to work the other way. And I think they've done really well. And that's not knocking Collingwood. Collingwood are a very good football club. And credit to you.
I mean, like, even if we're talking about St Kilda and Essendon maybe don't have the best lists, at least the new coaches have come in, have really kept the players accountable and be like, hey, you're going to put in that 4-quarter effort versus what we saw with West Coast this week, kind of giving up after losing quite a little bit. Just going back to what you were saying about West Coast kind of paying up for Tim Kelly, it's kind of the opposite with Port Adelaide at the moment, just how they've done with those first 3-round picks. Butters, Rosie, Dersma, not so much, but at least those two, kind of what influence that has. I always wonder, like, if West Coast had come in and be able to grab Tim Kelly and Nick Martin through the state leagues instead of having to, like, bypass them, and then if they had those first 3-round picks at the start, how different the team probably would have looked right now.
It's always an interesting one. I mean, I think the wonderful thing is that West Coast suffer kind of from a Carlton syndrome. They're the richest club in the WA. They've got a lot of esteem, a lot of reputation, and they've had a very open draft policy that they try and stay in WA. They go for big signings. They're forever linked with players. They went hard. WA-born Kelly, on paper, it was a great idea. It was exciting. It's probably cost them talent. And as their senior players have hit 30, they've fallen off the face of the earth. Yeah. No one plays a heavy possession game football as well. About 2021, everyone started to give up possession and go for more heavy territory. So that's knocked them back. It's an interesting one because I just did a video on Carlton's draft since 2013 and trades, and it's depressing reading when you're acquiring talent. And Port Adelaide, Geelong, great case studies. Big core of their team are in that 20s and 30s and 40s. Yeah. And like Geelong's flag winning side has the most rookie picks ever. Right? And that's a huge, huge thing that I think people forget about, that this is a draft league. This is a talent league. These big name players, TDK linked with St Kilda, they don't genuinely make you better. The teams that win you the flags are your core of 10 players between 20 and 30. And some teams are taking a while to adapt. My team has taken forever to adapt, and hopefully we learn the errors of our ways in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's the problem with North Melbourne, but it's also what makes Sydney fantastic as well, is just kind of being able to grab talent in those later picks and just immediate ready-made players done straight away. It's a tough one.
It helps cheating having an academy as well.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It is cheating. It is cheating. I 100% agree with you. It's BS. They come into the league with the culture, with the values, with the system, or they come in ready to go. What other teams? You know what I mean? Like, what other teams come in?
Hawthorn and the Dogs do the same thing with their VFL programs, right? They get these players in with talent, they develop them through there, and mistakenly no one ever chooses them on their teams, and somehow they end up being superstars.
Yeah, but they never got the
rookie picks. So
yeah, but they didn't get the protection though that the academies had, that the Swans and stuff had. That you can't touch these players. These players belong to the Swans. Whereas the Hawks VFL team, other teams could have picked them, but they didn't do their scouting on them.
But they didn't.
I think it does help though that they've got the monopoly in NSW. So I mean, obviously, for us Victorians, like Carlton have got Sorrento. And let's be honest about Sorrento. Sorrento's either rich accountants or it's God's waiting room for retirees. So what the hell are Carlton picking up from their NGA there? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're hoping some old lady called Aunt Doris is pretty good at football. You know what I mean? But years ago, Cooter, he came through our version of the NGA and we just got him to move house. Like, so do you know what I mean? Like, years ago, the academies worked a little bit different. Sydney have that original. So is it cheating? It is to us just because we can't do that. Carlton aren't powerful enough anymore to say, right, anyone who's born on this street to here is ours, with a caveat of that if you're slightly Italian and you live in Warrnambool, we'll move you here. Like, so, but it is an interesting thing. And it makes me laugh because North Melbourne are going to get a lot of first rounders. You've gone quite hard for them. And the media, I think, lead this country into list management decisions. And there's that horrible saying, and I fucking hate hearing it at the draft. If you've got it, spend it. In terms of pick one, pick two, you take the player. I could not disagree more. I think North Melbourne have proved it. Jason Horne-Francis, you could have traded that pick at the start and probably been in a better position than you are now. You got lucky that Port are a fair club. If that was a different club, there's a lot of clubs in this competition that aren't fair. Port traditionally a fair side at the trade table. So that's helped you guys out. You've got two very good players for losing one, but West Coast have to trade pick one. Have to. Like, if West Coast don't look at that as 3, maybe 4 inside the top 20 this year, they are criminally stupid, because Harley Reid is very good, but he ain't Dacos good, but he is good.
I think it depends as well on how many players they decide to offload during the trade period as well and get delisted. If they're looking to get rid of a majority of their list, 100% agree. But if they come in and like, oh yeah, we'll keep Shuey for another year, you know, we won't offload a couple of players, I can see them just being like, well, we've got 1 first-round pick, let's take Reid and then just kind of bolster it and see how we go.
I think the quickest rebuild you'll see is Hawthorn.
Yep.
I think Collingwood, I remember doing a video when Walsh got rid of their senior players and people saying that they're idiots. And I said, it's genius. You've got to rip the Band-Aid off. I do think AFL is too slow to do the rebuild. I think if West Coast are sensible, they think players like Gaff hold value. So Carlton, would I take Gaff? Not really, but I think Gaff is the kind of player Carlton need. A couple of players in them late 30s who's been there, done it, decent users of the football who aren't phased. I think it would help them with their young, especially with the Camporelli brothers coming next year. I think that's important. So I think West Coast could maximise that right now. Go, Shuey, he's got value. Gaff's got value. They won't get rid of Tim Kelly, but...
no one's picking up Gaff, let's be honest, right? Like, you say Gaff's got value. The guy can't get on the park. When he does, he gets like 10 disposals. So,
yeah, but I think he would have value for him. I think he would have value for a culture perspective. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is a big thing. So players like Shuey, McGovern, you know, McGovern is the case in point. AFL loves an injured player. You know, AFL, like, you know, we've all got that mate, right? You know, you're on a night out, you meet a nice girl, but you
Yeah.
know her through a mate, and you know she's a nightmare and she's going to break his heart. But your mate gets it into his head that he can change her. He can change. It's all right. I'm me. And, 2 weeks later, he's back. He's on your couch. He's in tears. Yeah. That is Jeremy McGovern. There'll be some club arrogant out there who goes, oh, God, if we had Jeremy McGovern, we'd be top 4. And they're like, oh, but his knees. Nah, fuck it. He's had his knee problems. He'll be fine. So it always happens in the AFL. Nick Nat, double dummy. I reckon Nick Nat, someone will see Brodie Kent, Brodie Grundy, and Max Gawn, and maybe say, you know what, if we can get Nick Nat right for 12, 13, 14 games, that could work if we've got a ruckman. Someone like GWS.
Geelong, if they've got enough money. But
GWS would be the perfect place, because if you're tall and injured, there's 500k waiting for you at GWS.
Exactly. No, 100%. I don't know, man. Yeah, the Eagles, it could also be really good that it depends also. The Eagles can rebuild even faster if the AFL decides to go ahead and implement that ability to buy draft picks from other teams. So
they don't have cash, Joe. The Eagles don't have money. That's the problem. They're spending $1 million on Nick Nat. They're spending $1 million on McGovern. Half a dozen other players. Andrew Gaff's on $900K. They're spending too much money.
But all these players, they'll go.
They don't have the money to offer.
Yeah, but they'll go. Yeah, but if you're trading them away,
you look at Eagles' list. Hearn will retire. Nick Nat will either retire or.
I hope he does,
But I mean, to be fair, Nick Nat's one of the good players. Who does things honestly as well. So Shuey will go. McGovern, they'll probably look at. Jamie Cripps, I'd take him at Carlton. Someone who actually does tackle. Jack Darling's probably got value. Gaff's got value. Elliot Yeo probably would stay. Tim Kelly has to stay. Jaden Hunt. And then you're into the crux. Tom Barras would be a player that with the injuries and with the young tolls they've got there, they'd go. And especially someone like the Bulldogs, who I think have Harley Reid, would really suit. That's where you ask the question of their first rounder and maybe trying to get the young key defender that they took early in the draft as well, who is a WA boy. And that's where you try and get creative if you're the Eagles. That you start dangling the carrot, because Jed Busslinger is the perfect player for Eagles, and it suits it. And I reckon that would be a goer. So I'd love to do the Eagles rebuild. I think the Eagles rebuild, if they rip the Band-Aid off, it won't take them long, because they are a super club. They are a super club. West Coast Eagles.
North tried to do it, but we're just hampered a little bit by people not wanting our players. So it's been a bit rough.
I reckon they should reach out to Hawthorn and see if they can facilitate a trade to get Denver Granger Barras, who's just chilling in the VFL.
Hawthorn would be a really interesting one, because I went to a function with Sam Mitchell at the end of last year, and I've always been bullish on Hawthorn, always been super bullish on them. And I think that they're going to be a really interesting team in this trade period, because that's where you start flirting with them. So if you were West Coast Eagles, you could say, look, Harley Reid is what you need. Like Harley Reid in that midfield, forget about it. And you start testing their commitment to that rebuild, because the problem is no one tests in the AFL. No one tests. They're all too nice. So Double Dummy nails it. Shrewd character. He was the guy I wanted at Carlton after we got rid of Teague. I am in love with Sam Mitchell. And
there's a reason why they forked out $1 million to pay Clarko not to coach for a year, so they could keep Mitchell. Like he's worth every.
And you look at their rebuild. I was quite bullish on them this year. It's genius. Like Carlton dug their heels in with our rebuild, and then we panicked and we started paying Mitch McGovern millions of dollars to come over here because we need, as Sauce said, brand names. Like, you've got to be committed to it. And like Anthony says there, do you know what I mean? They've got a decent side there, Eagles. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's bad because of injuries. But if they can jettison some players, get some trade Arsenal in, draft this year is deep as well. Like, there was that article the other day saying, I've heard it's not very good. Well, I've heard you're not a very good pundit, mate. So there's two of us here, isn't there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But if you're a WA guy, Daniel Curtin, absolute superstar. Mitch Edwards, probably the best ruck, but he is tied to Fremantle. You've got Colton Thulstrop, mid forward. He's basically a clone of Kelly. Like, if they can get into the 20s to 30s, there is about 6 WA boys of varying positions that suddenly make that list better. And they need to do it now, though, because 2025 comes, Tasmania start getting the caps, you're fucked. Yep. So if you're rebuilding, you have to rebuild this draft. I
think one of the problems with West Coast at the moment, though, is that Freo's so good that young talent that wants to go home, like we've seen with Jackson, they're just going to pick the better of the two teams. Because who's going to want to go to a rebuilding West Coast versus a team that's at least competing for finals and will be competitive for a long time?
One of the amazing AFL anomalies it is. Yeah. I'm homesick. I want to come back to Melbourne, but it has to be
Geelong.
Carlton. It has to be Carlton. Can't be fucking Geelong, because that would mean I'd have to get in my car for 45 minutes. Can't be North. That's 25 minutes away from Carlton. Can't be Essendon, Tullamarine. Like, what the fuck is wrong with 18-year-old Australians? They do realise that Melbourne ain't that big. You can get pretty much anywhere in 2 hours. You'll be right, kids.
Pretty much.
But same with WA. I agree with you, but I think that the way out of it for West Coast is they've relied too much on senior players who are serially injured. I feel their pain as a Carlton fan. I feel their pain. It hurts. And they've got to rip the Band-Aid off. Sometimes you've got to get your ego out of the way in these rebuilds. And too many clubs, Essendon are one of them, the ego in that rebuild, young coaches, hanging on to players. Sometimes you've got to just say, right, we're going to be shit for 2 years. And it's going to be okay. But we'll be shit. And that's why Hawthorn have done well, because they keep talking about that Hawk spirit. And even though they lost today, you know what? I like the fact that they go out there and play with no respect for the opposition. And that'll pay them back in 2 or 3 years. They'll win a flag very quickly. I would say they will win 3 flags by 2030, Hawthorn.
I guess kind of heading into the second, the next 9 or so games of the season. This is if Carlton don't make finals, of course. What do you want to see from the boys? What changes do you want to see made? What's kind of your expectations?
I think even if we make finals, I consider it an abject failure. It has to be. When you finish 9th, you can't start like we did. You can't start like you did. And I think if any Carlton fan sees finals and gets flutters, you've got to be kind of real and go, the boys can't turn it on when the press jump off them. And there is no pressure, because ultimately, if they don't learn to handle pressure, they're going to be dog shit in finals. Because once finals comes, that's when the real pressure's there. So if you can't handle St Kilda at the Marvel you're fucked in a final. So I'm wanting to see us kind of have a thought of 2024. I hope the Blues have a thought of 2024. They sack off the Mitch McGovern experiment. He won't be there next year. They give the job to Kemp, give him a run and say, look, you're polling better numbers, you're showing a better kick. And Carlton really starting to think, let's have a pre-season now. It's a very easy fixture list. We play like 2 decent sides from now till the end of the year. You never know. We could, ironically, kick the doggies out of the 8 round 24 by a kick. That could be us. And that could be the goal. But to get there, we've got to think we need to put teams away. So as much as I respect Hawthorn, we have to look at them and go, we're bigger, we're more physical. We punish them. Cripper needs to be looking at that game and going, I'll eat you guys. Kerno's got to look and go, look at these melts guarding me. 8 goals. I want to see a little bit of fire so we can go into next year, because ultimately Carlton are in a horrible position. I think Carlton are, no one's talking about it. We're in a dangerous position, because if this doesn't work, we're going to be rebuilding right when Tasmania come in. So if this doesn't pay off in the next 3 years, them concessions are going to be there. And Carlton are going to be in a world of hurt, because there isn't going to be the picks to trade for your stars. Do you know what I mean? To trade for your stars. And that's a big thing. And we've seen lots of games, like Hippo mentions against Adelaide. Carlton came out against Adelaide and they were limp. They didn't want to tackle. That was one of the worst performances I've seen from the Blues since we chaired off that Melt Bryce Gibbs. So that's something Carlton have got to find an identity. And the problem is we have no identity. That's what pisses me off about my Blues. What are we? I watch Essendon. I know what they are. I watch North. I know what they are. They're like between a Ratton and a Clarko side at the moment. But I watched my Blues, and this week ruined it for me, that Gold Coast. It was what we're good at. And I wish we were unforgiving, because we are a contested football side, and I'm not being arrogant. There is no midfield in the comp that can go against ours if we play that contested brand. Is it sustainable? Of course it is, because no one can beat it.
Yeah, and that's what you guys were thriving on when you were 8-2 at the start of last year. You're coming in, you had that fire, you had that energy, you had that passion. I don't know, like it just didn't seem, just hasn't seemed to be around there that much this year, whether it's a change in the game plan or anything like that. But when they had that fire in that second quarter against the Suns, they got sunburnt.
Yeah.
The big problem is that we take motivation from weird things, and that's what kills me. Because that first quarter was very Adelaide. I know Hippo's in the chat. Hopefully, he can confirm. It was very that Adelaide game. It was like, oh fuck, this is too hard. Oh no, it's not going our way. You saw the heads drop when they kicked the second goal, and we were the better side. And then something happened to them, and they started to get going. The problem is we can't do that in 24 games of a season plus finals. We need to find that motivation to be 8 goals up mentally before we come out. And that's a long question. Why? Personnel, leadership. I don't think we quite have them tools in place. I think Collingwood, I don't think their list is dramatically better than ours, top-end talent-wise, but I think if you look right in the middle, it's miles ahead of ours.
Yeah.
And they've got players like Pendlebury, and Pendlebury, he falls asleep when it's tired. Do you know what I mean? When it's tough, he's relaxed. And when it's tough for Carlton, Cripper's like, fuck, where's my next hair model contract?
Yeah.
Coast smashing today. Does that mean Carlton are good again?
Oh, fuck, I don't know him. I'll tell you what, ask me round 24, but I do think, on what I've seen under Voss, I think that the list is 9th. I think we lack that mid-range talent. Do you know what I mean? That mid-range talent. And hopefully in the draft this year, we look at 4 or 5 players in that 20s to 30s category getting some help in, because Double Dummy is taking the piss, but Ed Kerno, man, like Carlton have tagged some teams this year that we should have looked at with contempt.
Yeah.
And we've gone in with that negative mind. Essendon, we went in with such a negative mindset, and we should have been
Why would you do that? Yeah.
And we should have been like, everyone was saying to me when we played you guys, oh, what about Jake Stringer? I'm like, he's going to do fuck all if he can't get the ball.
Correct. Or Zach Merritt. Bro, we had no Parrish, no Setterfield, no Shield. You're supposed to look at that and be like, Hobbs? Yeah, you're a young gun. Perkins? Yeah, you're a young gun. But we're Cripps. We're Walsh. We're Chera. You know what I mean? Like, we're not... I don't know. That was
I kept saying it. I kept saying Brad Scott looks at Carlton's midfield, and I bet he shits himself. I bet he looks, right, Merritt can take one of them. Oh, fuck. Ben Hobbs is going to have to take one of these guys. Oh, Jay Caldwell. Oh, who else have we got? Like, he would have probably had more problems on paper than we did. The problem is, and that's what Carlton do. Like that Ed Kerno. I remember half time, and I saw Zach Merritt line up in the forward line, and I said on the live stream, can't wait for him to kick a goal and Ed Kerno piss off to the midfield. And it was literally from the centre bounce.
Yeah.
Ed Kerno stayed in the centre, bobbed it up. Merritt's under the ball, and he snags. And I was like, oh, God, brilliant. Quality. Love Carlton.
Yeah.
They had to keep him. They had to keep him. They had to send him to Merritt. Merritt's not a forward. Merritt's a midfielder. It's all right. Kerno can stick to him. It's no big deal. No need to disrupt the apple cart. I don't know. That's a coaching decision.
Joe, we're going to be in the finals, though. Pom's big call. Carlton from the heavens, baby. Get around it.
We won't. I called it.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys have watched Fancast, but my big call for episode 1 was we'd finish in about 10th position. I don't know. I respect our improvement this year, but yeah, no, I think you guys are underperforming, which means you've got upside. I think we've sort of, not that we've overperformed, but we've had some decent things go our way this year. The turn will come where we will be in a bit of a rut. And yeah, I think we'll slip out of the 8. I think you guys are more of a chance of making finals than we are, because I think your list is that good. I've always thought your list is good. Big J probably doesn't believe, not as bullish, I don't think, but I've always said this team's too good to be where you guys are.
Our list is good on paper, but unfortunately, it's the Australian Football League, not Australian Origami League. If it was the Origami League, top form, baby, you know what I mean? We'd probably
all of the cranes, all of the cranes.
The problem is we just, like, honestly, we don't have them consistent players. The problem is Cripps is incredibly consistent, but when we're shit, he can't do what he does well. He's got to do too much. And then Walsh gets played somewhere else. And before you know it, everything implodes. I think it's a good list on paper, but in reality, right, it's an average win of 29.8%. Like, do you know what I mean? Some of these guys, like, you know, lose to their kids playing snakes and ladders, bro. Like, I've heard rumors Cripps gets his cousin on his leg and plays noughts and crosses, and he hasn't beaten the 2-year-old ever. like, it's all they know, and that's a big thing.
He's won a Brownlow, though. He's won a Brownlow.
Yeah.
It's an individual achievement.
I think Carlton Lawyers won the Brownlow, Joe.
You know, this is what shits me about the AFL. People go, "Oh, Carlton have got 2 Coleman medalists. Great."
Yeah.
But that's if you got Charlie Curnow and Harry in a room and said, "Give us your Coleman medals, we'll burn them," right? You never get them back. You're stricken from history. But we'll give you a flag. They'll be like, "Fuck yeah, Cripps, throw your brownie in as well, mate. It's pointless because it's team success, and that's the problem we can't." And it's like when people say stuff like, "Oh, but St Kilda's list is shit," is it? Like, who said? Like, I think St Kilda's list is very, very well balanced. Cal Wilkie should have been All Australian 2 years ago. Sam Taylor at GWS only got in, but he's been arguably up there with Wheaterin and other defenders for the last 3 years. No one talks about him. If you don't play for Brisbane or one of the big Melbourne teams, people forget about you. But I think their list is very solid. Like, and I would actually say they have got hard ball winners and players outside. Carlton, up until last year, was playing Jack Noons as a wing, and he hadn't played wing at St Kilda since he was 19. Like, the problem is Carlton are focused on one area of the ground, and suddenly now we can't spread it. And it's really easy to beat Carlton. Like, really easy. Get us stuck in that centre or get us stuck down halfback, and we have no idea what to fucking do anymore.
It reminds me of Melbourne before they went good. Melbourne were see ball, get ball, were really good in the center, in the clearances, contested possessions. Then on the outside, couldn't really do much with it. That's what you guys were. But then I just thought that you added Akers, who always finds himself in an acre of space, right? You added Chera, you know what I mean? Like, you've got people. Walsh is a great runner. You got people that can play that outside game. And I'm thinking, oh, great! Now that you've added these extra pieces to it, you know what I mean? Like, you've traded for these. I wouldn't have considered Chera a star. I certainly consider him one now. He's been absolutely killing it for you this year. So by adding these stars to the outs, be able to get the ball moving forward to that potent forward line. You know, King Charles is there. You know what I mean? Like, you put King Charles one out with anybody, they're shitting bricks, right? You put Harry Mackay one-on-one with someone. He's a big, big lump of a lad. Good luck one-on-one with him. You know what I mean? Like, it's
the problem is, though, is we don't get one-on-one. So when people talk about Cameron Hawkins and say, well, look at them. Geelong have got 2 big guys and it works. They've also got Stengel, Close, Gearan. Like, players that can actually fucking hurt you. At Carlton, if you stop Charlie,
you're kind of stuck.
Motlop.
who's kicking goals. Like Motlop will occasionally kick goals. Durden will.
Fogarty's a good player, right? He's a good player.
He's played one game this year, though, and he's the defensive specialist, so he's our Brad Close. So, like, when you play against Carlton, it's quite easy to stop because you know the ball's going to be targeted at Charlie, and then you know Harry's going to be targeted, but you know if it hits the deck, no one's going to be there. So your mindset is 2 on one, 2 on the other. Let's hope something happens. But only always has been kicking goals consistently, but Motlop hasn't. He does it in spurts, and that's the problem. All the other good sides have that third, like Double Dummy nailed it. Jack Martin, like having a third option that you can change.
Yeah.
Carlton don't. Like Carlton's options this year up until this week where we had multiple goal kickers has been Charlie, please kick 8. That's been the game plan. And when he hasn't kicked 8, everyone's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Team game, though. That's something that Carlton needs to remember. Team game.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
it is. It's not the team. It's not the team of individuals. A champion. What? A team of champions that wins the flag. It's a champion team.
Amen, brother. Amen. Like if you put $1,000 behind the bar, it's going to be us 3 that drink the beers. It won't be one of us.
Here. All of the drinks here. Pints, please. All the pints.
I only deal in pints, mate. Only deal in pints on this schooner malarkey.
Oh, I hear schooner. I got a shiver down my spine. Really? Come on, bro. Do I look like a schooner guy? Do I look like a schooner guy?
Mate, you got to have some respect. Man's got to have morals.
100%. Your tip for this week. You guys buy how much?
Oh, fuck. Hawthorne. Coming off the back of a disappointing loss. They are. I know Carlton fans are going to do the old, the bye blues, though. After you have a bye, you always lose. I reckon Carlton are going to book that trend. I reckon they're going to go in with a bit of form. In a tight first half, they will come out 33-point winners. And
Nice.
Mr. David Cunningham will kick 3 in the second to poll 3 Brownlow votes because we love Cunners.
Oh,
Get him in your SC team.
Oh, mate, I was watching that game with you guys on your channel, on your live stream. That was great fun. I was rooting for Cunners and I haven't seen this guy play in a long ass time, but great story for him to come back.
We love Cunners. He spells his name wrong, but we do love Cunners.
Look at that. It's just double dummy. No Sicily. Charlie will kick 6.
Yeah.
Hey, double dummy. You're a lot more confident in Carlton against shit backlines than I am, mate. I tell you, I get more worried when there's outs. I've done this for too long. When it was against Essendon, and everyone was like, "Pom, why are you worried?" No, Parish. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm worried. Like,
Yeah.
if Parish was there, I'd be like Carlton by 50.
And that's what happened. Parish comes back. We lose to Freo.
Yeah, I always get worried when there's an out because when it looks obvious, that's when my team let me down. I prefer it when you've got a full 22 and everything is humming at your end and we're not expected. That's what turns me on. That's when I get excited.
But that is so good. Charlie can't kick 6 because Mackay will be there to spoil him. They'll both go for the same ball.
Especially if we kick 3 in the row, that's when it gets really bad. I'm sure Supercoach Hippo's back me up there. That's my big annoyance. It happened last week against Gold Coast, Carlton. When they get up and about, they start going for the same ball. It's an injury waiting to happen. They get so excited that they're like, "Oh, this is 10 goals," and they run into each other. And I'm like, "Oh, just one of you stay away."
Right. Sounds like North Melbourne's defenders. 3 of them go up, no one gets it.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, Carlton by 30.
I like
Nice.
it. Oh, it's dwindled. He said 33 before. It's dwindling by the minute.
It'll go up by Wednesday when I do my preview, and then it'll slowly go down as we get to game day, and it'll be about 12 by bounce.
Fair enough. Yeah, nah. Hopefully for your boys, you can get 2 in a row. That'll be the first. Will that be the first time this year that you get 2 in a row?
Does it count as 2 in the row if the buys in between?
It counts.
All right. All
Don't
right.
do that to me, Big J. Come on, man. Hey, here at Carlton, we take whatever we can get, my friend. Do you know what I
Take
mean?
the wins as they come.
Do you know what I mean? But no, we have done 2 in a row. If you remember, we were,
Right.
3 in a row when we beat North?
Right.
Probably.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah,
It's been
3 in a row
a
when
long
we beat
time.
North, and then it all went downhill after that quite rapidly.
Fair enough.
North with a curse game.
Mate, we're cursed something.
North lulled you into a false sense of security, mate.
Yeah, they did, and then we had the Eagles game in between that at some point. That was good. I wish we could play Eagles every week. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Bet Sydney think that too.
That was disgusting, but I mean, we've got Hawthorn, and we do have the Eagles July 22nd, which from checking, you do see that they've got a few players back, which is the most Carlton thing ever, isn't it? That
100%.
we play against a full strength West Coast and go down.
Yeah. Hippo, what's
All
our
right,
win-loss if you take out North and West Coast wins? That means you would have won 3 and lost 10. But you can't do that to yourself, Hippo. A win's a win, a loss is a loss.
Hippo, my blue brother, what the fuck are you doing to you? Don't make yourself more sad. Fuck me, bro.
I know. Like, what are you doing? Oh, if West Coast didn't exist, but they do. Why are we trying to make it worse for yourself?
Jesus, I did that video, Hippo. I don't know if you've seen it on my channel, but it was every Carlton acquisition since 2013, and I did it without any prep. So I just did it on the fly. So you got my real reaction, and I'd actually forgotten about some of the shit Carlton brought in. And by the end of the video, I was so sad. Like I'd ruined my day by recording that video. When I saw some of these fucking names pop out, I'm like, who's this guy?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny when that happens. North Melbourne's the same as well.
And then I started having flashbacks when people got really fucking excited about these players. Like I had all the memories of covering drafts with Carlton, and like I remember players like, do you remember Matt Korchak?
Oh,
he was Mason Cox before Mason Cox existed, the big Yang.
Yeah. No.
And
Isn't that Eric Wallace? Didn't North Melbourne had Eric Wallace at one point?
Yeah, everyone's got a Yang on their book. And then there was that period of Carlton where we went for Irish players.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And like we just couldn't stop. Like it was just like, if you were slightly Irish, we'd fucking give you a contract. and I found
that's Geelong. That's Geelong now.
No, but I found an article. It was Killian McDade, and I never forget the opening line. Right, coming from a Gaelic team that was akin to Brisbane's dynasty. I'm like, fucking hell, guys! You've built that up. They've won 2 Gaelic medals, and you're now trying to claim we've got fucking Michael Voss, and he hadn't even played AFL.
Yeah.
You've got Simon Black.
It was good value. It was good fun going through it. Blaine Burkhurst, Matty Rops. Hey, we've had some great names through the Carlton books, to be fair. Like Carlton are AFL's version of Centrelink since 2013.
That's
You've got a couple of players on the pension, so I can see what you're saying.
Mate, you need a gig in 2015 and you were Irish. You could have gone on Centrelink, or you could have gone on the rookie contracts if you wanted 100k just for being Irish. Come on down.
I like Gibbons. I like Gibbons as a name.
Oh, Mickey Gibbons.
Yeah.
He was all right. We've had some shockers, to be fair. That mid-season draft has been grossly unkind to the Blues. Because I think we're the only team that has like a 0 success rate in that draft.
Hey, ours hasn't been great either.
But your first year, you just took 8 rooks.
What do you want?
It was never going to end well.
Number 1.
Ironically, Carlton's best player from the mid-season draft, if you go back and watch it, it's still on YouTube. We had our senior recruiter, Mick Agresta, select Jordan Boyd and describe him as a pocket forward with goal kicking, only for the next day for Nick Austin to say, yeah, he's a back pocket, excellent kick, real strong defensively. And ironically, It's the only mid-season draft that's worked. So maybe that's where Carlton have gone wrong. Like, they've picked with knowledge. They just need to guess.
I
Yeah.
love it.
I
That
get
is
you.
so good. Cheers, Poppy, for coming on, for giving us some laugh, giving us some deep knowledge on the Blues, and not just the Blues, helping out the West Coast Eagles to get their future back on track. Where can our wonderful viewers find you, mate?
You can find me, Pom Me in Oz. It's above my slightly wet quiff. I just got out of the shower. Pommy and Oz on YouTube. All socials, you'll see the wonderful logo that says Pos. Come and say hi. We do all sorts of content. We're actually ramping it up because I am having a 28-day holiday at work. So we are going to try some different in the next 4 weeks. So it's going to be a bit for everyone. And to answer everyone's question, least favourite Carlton player ever. Yeah, it's Bryce Gibbs. I can never forgive the club for ruining finals and sharing him off. Can never forgive him. Never will.
Disgusting. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Fair
All right,
enough.
Tommy.
Thank you
Catch you
so
in the
much,
next one.
man.
Much love, everyone. Look after. Make sure you subscribe as well to Centre Bounce. These boys work bloody hard.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Later.
I love you. Good night,
Love you
Bob.
too.
Got it.
Oh.
I caught it. The pommy
Caught it.
kiss.
All right. Well, we've got a couple more guests. I think I'm getting close to finishing up, so let's have a chat with some other people and then see
Next
how we
one on the
go. We
block.
have a guy. Someone's currently in what? Not Tasmania, is it? Where are you at the moment, Steve?
I'm in Gold Coast, mate. I'm in Gold
Gold
Coast.
Coast.
Yeah, just came back from the footy. It wasn't a great performance at the end of the day, but it was good to get involved with the community in Gold Coast. It was good fun.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a cold, but I still had to get through the gates and come over. So, yeah.
Dedication. Look at that. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who traveled to Adelaide for Gather Round. He's now gone up to Gold Coast. Like, mate, you love your 40 so much. You leave the state and stuff. That is amazing. Well done to you, mate. Even with a cold.
Yeah, well, I didn't come this whole way to just stay in bed all day. So, had to get down a few frothies. So I've got 2 bottles of water, just
Love it.
keep me in good stead. But for this interview, so no, it was good fun. It was really good fun. Yeah, it wasn't a great performance at the end of the day, but look, heading into the game, I was expecting. I think I even said on Twitter, I was expecting a 40-plus loss here.
Right.
Gold Coast would have been breathing fire after their pretty disappointing performance against the Blues last week. We've seen teams throughout the bye rounds, the week after the bye, they've been pretty disappointing. So, look, I didn't expect that to be any different for us. So, yeah, it was a pretty disappointing performance. But, yeah, I still think there's some pretty positive signs heading into the future.
Like, that's the exact same. That's the exact same as us. Our opponent had a really shit week last week. They would have copped the rocket up them. They're playing at home, and we are coming off a bye. Like that exact same 4 points that you just raised was Essendon to a T this week, and it's no surprise that the both of us are on the losing side of the ledger this week.
I think it's more surprising for you than us, that's for sure.
Nah, I reckon Freo are better than what they showed.
Is there a big crowd up in the Gold Coast, Steve?
I think
crowd. How many people were there?
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere where it was 14,000, which is probably a good sign.
Cool.
Today was the start of school holidays. Oh, not today, but Friday. So it was the first weekend of holidays. So there would have been a few extra people. So I think the AFL scheduled pretty well because I think Gold Coast play Collingwood next week. So they'll get a pretty decent crowd for that. I think it was about 14,500. So, no, it was a pretty good turnout. I definitely saw more Hawthorn supporters than Gold Coast supporters, but that wouldn't be hard to do.
I have to cut you off. Did you just say the AFL does good scheduling? I don't know if this is possible, right?
For school holidays, with
Okay,
the
cool.
Gold Coast, it's about 10% of what they're actually good at. They make sure that
Yeah.
the big clubs are scheduled during the school holidays to go to Gold Coast. So, yeah, the scheduling, look, it's questionable to say the least, but hopefully there's a lot less bye rounds next year, I reckon.
Mm-hmm. How about
Please.
Day? He's decided that he's going to be at premium again. 2 weeks after I dropped him, he drops 100 and then like a 140 this week. I'm not happy, mate. Where's this been the last 5 weeks?
Well, from my view of the ground, it wasn't that great. We were at the forward pocket of I don't know what side of it. I guess the Hawthorn cheer squad end, the less built up area. So I really only saw about a third of the ground, but I think with Sicily out, it does lean towards Will Day getting more possessions because they move him to the half back. It was almost a goalkeeper at some parts of the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he does suit that role pretty well because we're. I think our midfield was pretty disappointing today, but other than that, it's been pretty good this year. A lot better than previous years with O'Meara and Mitchell. So it was pretty disappointing in the midfield today, but I think we do have a plethora of midfield, plenty of players that can sort of play that midfield role, and that Sicily being out for a few weeks, which I think's a little bit harsh on the suspension. But at the end of the day, speaking of Will Day, he can play that halfback sort of role, and he does that pretty well. He really, as I said, he was like a goalkeeper today, where he can just read the play really well and create opportunities heading forward. But Gold Coast really shut us down really well because we couldn't really get our game plan sort of running today. So yeah, they just really outcoached us really today.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the conditions suit them. You know what I mean? Like they're more mature age bodies. You got a young team, young midfield. Your biggest boy, I think you'd say, is Newcomb in the middle there. I don't know. I just think, yeah, Gold Coast play better at home than they do away. And Noah Anderson, I thought, was really good. Did some really good things. It was very clean, despite the wet conditions and the greasiness. You know, do you think that played a role, them just being more accustomed to that sort of to the terrain?
Yeah, it did for sure. They're certainly more used to the conditions than we are. We play in Melbourne and in Tasmania, where it's just mainly cold. So we're just not used to those dewy conditions. But that's not an excuse to the way we played for most of the game today. It was just pretty disappointing. Gold Coast just outcoached us at the end of the day. Yeah, I thought their midfield was just really good. It was a bit of an off day for the midfield today. Newcomb continues to impress me a lot. Like there's a lot of different facets in his game that he just continues to build on. Connor Nash, he's not a star, but he's just a really good role player in that midfield. I don't know how else to describe it, but he's just a really good role player. That taller body, he's not going to he's not going to have a grouse game, but he's just going to continue to be consistent.
Solid game.
Yeah, it's just solid game after solid game. Sam Mitchell deciding to move him into the midfield was just fantastic. So that's really turned his career around because as a key forward, it just wasn't working for him. So Gold Coast were just far too good today in the midfield. Just whenever they win the clearance, they've got beautiful delivery inside the forward 50 where it just struggled for our key defence. So Sicily misses a lot, but at the end of the day, I think some of those entries inside towards the forward 50 just wasn't going to, Sicily or not, it just wasn't going to really help us in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke about it a little bit with Pommy, but you got to be pretty happy with where you guys are at in terms of rebuild and structure and like what you're building, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think since Sam Mitchell's come in, we've probably overperformed over the past 2 years. I think everyone had us down pretty low, even myself. Like, it does surprise me over the past couple of years how we continue to exceed those expectations. I think everyone expected for us to be a bit worse this year, and that is the case. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of us had us last and all that sort of thing. But I think we've really shown that we can cause a couple of upsets, and I think our development has certainly helped us continue to grow and get us closer to where we want to be as a side. So I'm sounding a bit like a coach, but but yeah, that's just how I see it as a supporter. Hopefully we can make finals in 3 years. I don't know. I reckon that's possible.
Yeah, as Big J's saying, it probably comes from playing Supercoach, from being a Supercoacher yourself, but also because, you know, we're looking at it through the context of we understand that it's a rebuild. And when you're looking at a rebuild and you're sort of looking at the piece that you've got, where you're looking to go to, what you're hoping to be, I think naturally a lot of the supporter base starts to look at it differently and starts to look more for, rather than just the results, the wins, losses on the weekend, but more so looking at the development, how you played, how you lost. You know, it's very hard to look at it on paper and be like, oh, these last 2 years have been a success for the Hawks. But when you look at it from the context of this is a rebuilding side, young side, looking to build for the next dynasty, in the grand scheme of things, you think, oh, there's a lot of aspects of success here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all you want to see, because you head into the season, you're not expecting finals or anything. It's just crazy to think that sort of stuff. So you just hope for blokes to just continue their development at the end of the day. And I think that's just been the case with a lot of these players. I think we've unearthed a lot of really good young players that, I'll tell you what, Seamus Mitchell is just a perfect example. I didn't think he'd be anywhere near AFL standard heading into the season just kept getting injured, and the forward role wasn't really working. But he just looks so comfortable in defence. So that's one we've really unearthed. There's also a couple of other blokes. Weddle, fantastic. I wouldn't muck around with him too much in any other position, just because I think he's playing so well as a third key defender and just really an interceptor, that sort of stuff. Tyler Brockman, it's great to see him have a great resurgence as well. It's just getting these reps into these young blokes. So I think it's just really promising to see. And look, that's all you really ask for as a supporter. You just want to see promising signs, because, as I said a couple of times before, we're not expecting finals. We're just expecting some good signs out of these young blokes. And by the end of the season, you want to say to yourself as a supporter, okay, we've got less holes to fill than what I thought heading into the season. And I think that's what I'm really seeing with this side. So I think there's certainly a lot less holes to fill than heading into the season for sure.
Yeah. It's what do you kind of want to see? The bye rounds are done now. We've got 9 weeks to go. What do you want to see from the team? Like, is there a particular area that you're saying, okay, we need to fix, or kind of just an overall growth and kind of forming of this is going to be our best 22 players next year?
Yeah, look, I don't think. Look, at this point in time, there's not really a position where you can go, hey, if we can fix this second key forward, that's fantastic. But unfortunately, it's still the current season, and you're playing with what you've got. So I don't think. Look, hey, heading into the trade period, I'd love to get a grouse second key forward next to Mitch Lewis to really help him out. I think Kaczynski's really just a placeholder at the minute until we get that sort of guy, but it's just not there at the minute. So, look, you're just working with what you're working with. You've got to reward players that are playing good in Box Hill. I mean, we had a pretty disappointing performance at Box Hill today. I saw the last quarter when I got to the stadium. I'd really like to see Denver Granger Barras play a little bit more. I think James Blank had an elbow to the neck of Ben King. I'm not sure what that's going to be assessed as. I haven't checked any of the news or anything, but it could be a week, could be two. He has to get in. As I was saying to myself before selection, I'd love to see Barras play that Sicily role because I think that's his best position to play that Sicily sort of role. He's almost like a Jeremy McGovern type, where he's not a locked down one-on-one key defender. You can't expect that from him, but he can be an interceptor, can ruffle a few feathers as well. I really like the way he goes about it. So that sort of thing. I think I'd like to see a couple of things out of Josh Ward. I know he played well at Box Hill today, but I'd love to see just a couple of nice, interesting traits because at the minute, I don't know if you guys play NBA 2K, but he feels like a bloke that plays with 0 badges. He's just a bit average at everything. So I'd like to see a little bit more of what he has to offer, and hopefully he can keep collecting the ball and show a couple more interesting traits. But yeah, that's just that sort of thing.
I mean, Double Dummy here says that, if he gets up, it almost dropped Frosty to play Denver Granger Barras because he's really highly rated. He was a top 5 pick. You know what I mean? Like he's someone that is a gun key defender that Cornsey was buying all of his stock in. You know what I mean? Like when Kane Corns
he looked good last year. I mean, like he looked good in his draft year, and then maybe it's injuries. Steve will be able to tell us, but he's fallen off, and maybe someone else has come in, change of scenery, change of team, or the likes of Mitchell and Weddle kind of pushing him out. But I know there's teams that are going to be saying, "Hey, mate, do you want to play in the best 22 every week? Here's some money and a draft pick." Got to keep him, right, Steve?
Yeah, I'd like to keep him for one more year, but at the same time, I think I mentioned this in the Team Sheets video on Thursday. If you can get offered an early second rounder by West Coast, where he's from in WA, I think you just take that. But I think what's killed him is Weddle. Weddle has killed him. I think that's just what happened with Granger Barras. I think Frosty, as frustrating as he is, and he is bloody frustrating, he makes you lose hair, and I'm bloody losing hair at the minute, so watching Frosty. So, but I think Frosty is important to the structure that we currently have. So I think it's a bit hard to drop him because you want Blank and Frost playing together. Just so, I mean, he's not in the team at the minute, but Sicily can play where he is best suited as. He's not a key defender, but he can play as a key defender, but also as an interceptor. He can just reset everything in the back line. So I think that's pretty important as well. So as frustrating as Frosty is, I think he is pretty important to the system until we get a replacement.
Yeah, got to have those mature bodies in the back line. I think that's a big thing too. Something to be said. The talent might not be there, but the ability to push players out of position and be, something's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
The situation for DGB really reminds me of in our team. Aaron Francis was a top 5 pick for us, who we drafted with Parrish, and he was meant to be that intercepting defender for us. But all of a sudden, we had the rise of Ridley, and all of a sudden, Francis just couldn't get that spot anymore. We tried him forward, didn't work out. He's a natural defender, and we just couldn't get the best out of him because we had Ridley playing, and Ridley was just that guy that we're going to have. Like you couldn't beat him. So now Francis is over there playing at Sydney that role, So that it could be a very similar situation for DGB that could end up being beneficial for both clubs because you're not looking to contend now. Getting a second round pick that you guys have been really good with your latest selections. You can get someone out of it, and he can go back home.
I'd do it at North, to be honest. If he was fit and ready to go and everything like that, throw him in there, give him a case, say, hey, there's a spot for you if you can fight for it.
I don't think he's ready to go now. Like, I still think there's another year or two of development there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
think he'll eventually become a good player, and I'm really am rooting for him because I really like the way he goes about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty ironic as well. Francis and Barras are both redheads.
Yeah.
And top 10 picks as well. But yeah, look, I think it's tough because Barras needs Sicily to not play that position for him to succeed. But you're not taking an All Australian squad, should be All Australian, in that
Should be.
in that best 22. I personally reckon he should be, but it is what it is. But I think like Barras ain't going to take Sicily out of his position. It's just so it's almost like if you get offered a early second rounder by West Coast,
Yeah.
I think you absolutely jump on that because I just don't think the way we currently set up just isn't. It's just not going to happen with him being in his best position unless he's playing lockdown key defence like Frost is. But he's really been exposed in that sort of way.
Sicily's performance against St Kilda, was one of the greatest, solo efforts. You know what I mean? Like individual performances I've ever seen. He was unreal. Like, gee whiz, that was captain stuff there.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. Like, I watched the game from home and it was just absolutely fantastic. Like, I think St Kilda are pretty easy to let defenders do what they sort of want, that sort of thing. But it really helped us in our favour for that game. I think he's just a great player. Like, he's one of the best defenders in the competition, in my opinion. If we didn't have him, we'd be absolutely stuffed. So, and I think that's shown over the Port Adelaide game and the Gold Coast game. So, yeah, he's just a fantastic player from what I've seen, and I think that's been the case since 2019. I think people are forgetting once he came back from his ACL, like it's just been 2022, 2023, 2019, 2019, and 2020 as well. Before he did his ACL, he's just been fantastic and just a great player to watch while going through the rebuild a bit.
Yeah, totally agree.
I mean, double dummy. He's posed a pick 3 and Denver Granger Barras for pick 1, and maybe give him a third round or future second too, so that he can trade up to get Reed.
Yeah, give him pick 3, give him Granger Barras, give him all the future picks except the first. We'll take that.
You'd have to give them your second rounder at least this year to make it happen. Like,
yeah, we'll take that.
At a minimum.
Yeah, no, that doesn't matter. Because we'll have give us later picks in the draft so we can have enough points to accept the bid for Will McCabe, who's going to be probably a top 15 prospect heading into this season, who's a father-son of Luke McCabe, who's now I think he's the football director now at Hawthorn. So if we can get Harley Reid and Will McCabe, I think that's just absolutely fantastic. But look, hey, I don't think that's realistic. I think West Coast will be offered 3 first-round picks for that, and I do think West Coast should be trading that. I don't really know how it's possible for West Coast in their current situation to just be letting 3 first-round picks off for a bloke who's from Victoria that might not feel too comfortable going there. I think I've seen somewhere where he doesn't want to leave Victoria, so I think it's somewhere where maybe I could imagine Essendon going for it, Melbourne going for it, that sort of thing. So I guess that's just my opinion, but I guess we'll have to see come the end of the year.
100%.
So we had Pom on before. He was very bullish. He reckons that his Blues will get up by 33. It then dipped a bit to 30 a couple of minutes later. How do you see the game going against the Blues?
Well, I've had a terrible year of tipping this year, but I'm up at about went 6 for 6 this week for the first time this year.
Well done.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've had a shocking year of tipping, honestly.
I
But
think I had one. Tipped one.
I think I can't see us winning many games with Sicily out of the team. So I think Carlton will win. Whether it's pretty comfortably, I don't know. It was one good week. I think one thing I've usually seen from Hawthorn this year, I mean, besides the first few rounds of the year, we don't have two terrible performances in a row, but I do think Carlton's firepower in that forward line is just really going to cause us a lot of mayhem. So I think Carlton by 28, I reckon. I think they'll. I don't think we'll get. I don't. It might be close early, but I think Carlton can push us away after that. And I think from roughly that 20 to 40 margin from the second quarter onwards, I think it'll roughly be around that for most of the game. So that's what I roughly expect. I think it's just really far too hard with Sicily out of the team, especially going up against Mackay, who's had his struggles this year, but he is still indeed a very polarising player. And he's going to be tough to stop at the end of the day. Curnow is one of the best key forwards in the competition, and bloody hell, who's going on him? Sam Frost. My God, he might kick 10 again. Well, no,
Gary Lewis with more hair.
No, I think Carlton by 28, but I think for most of the game, it will be roughly that 20 to 40 margin for most of it.
Nice.
Fair enough. We'll let you go on a high, on a happy note. Jonas always comes in with some fun, with some funniness. Makes us laugh. Getting in the dud against job all the time. Was like a third and scored 45. Chesanero. Well, he goes real slow with his head held low. He's a country fried spud endorsed by his coach, Chesanero. The super coach community has ruled owning the Chesanero unsafe for mental well-being. But Jonas, reading your comments is always great for mental well-being. You are a star, mate. Love you so much.
Did Chester go down in price this week?
Probably.
He had to.
Chester.
He had to.
He lost 5.5K this week.
Oh, shut
Very
it.
funny.
He's at
Very
145. Mate, Steve, where can our viewers find you, mate?
Yeah, thank you, boys, for letting me on. Of course, I'm certainly sobered up after a few of these waters. I tell you what, I think I went about 10 deep tonight. You can find me at now I've got the hiccups. SCS Supercoach on YouTube, so you can find me on there. Stephen D.W. Smith on Twitter. So make sure you subscribe on my YouTube channel. Make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. And I'm also posting a bit more on TikTok, SDS_Supercoach. So yeah, it's been good fun jumping on. So thank you guys very much.
Hey, no worries. Yeah, anytime.
Thank you. I'll make sure I'll get you guys on a video this week. I haven't done enough collabing on my channel, so I'll get you boys on during the week.
Sounds real good, bro. Thank you so much, Dave. Come on, Hawkers. Get up this week.
Up the fan cast.
Up the fan cast. Oh, love it. Love it. Thank you, bro.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
I've been tuning into that. It's really good stuff. No.
Cheers, man. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, subscribe and follow to that. Thank you.
Cheers, man. See you, Steve.
Have a good night.
Bye, Steve.
You too, mate. Bye.
See ya.
Wow.
Hey,
it's been a long.
Tell you what, Joe. It's been a long session. I didn't think I'd last this long. But you know, we can't finish off without talking to probably the only North Melbourne person we have on the show that actually talks North Melbourne, who goes to games, who says hello like every week. Big Causer, how you doing, mate?
Causer!
Good. How
Love
does
you,
it
mate.
feel not to be like sad after a loss this week?
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
Just relaxing, not worrying at all.
Yeah, I know. Pommy was the same, right? I felt good last week got to chill, we had good vibes,
Yeah.
and then all good things must come to an end, and we lose this week. Oh no, it's all right. It was a good time to sit back, reassess how your first half of the year. Now that you've had a week, to digest, what are your thoughts on the first half of the year for your boys?
Oh, it was good, obviously, to start off, and then when obviously LDU got injured just before the Hawks game, I think we would have had a shout to be 3-0 if we had him, and then Simpkin didn't get injured in that game.
Yeah,
and then I just think lately it's been pretty good, getting better.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've found a little bit as well is just kind of like that quiet optimism. Like, yeah, we're losing, but last year I think it was hard to see improvements every week. Whereas this year, I think you can kind of tell, like, hey, we're getting a little bit scary sometimes,
It's not like we're 60, 80 points down at half time and we're just
not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And LDU's probably coming back this week too, so maybe we get a win. We'll see how we go.
Mate, don't get excited. You're coming off the bye.
All right, everyone's had a
There's
break.
only been two teams that have won off the bye. I think it is so far.
Yeah, and Collingwood were able to do so.
It was Collingwood and someone else. I can't remember the second one, but
and the thing is, Collingwood played someone who also just came off the bye. So even that statistic,
a 50% chance to win.
Yeah. So even that statistic is a bit iffy. So
Joe, you're making us feel bad, man. You're just like, nothing's going to happen. Don't be happy. Tell you what.
You don't know. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
No,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, North Melbourne have been really good. If you get, you're obviously going to be a much better side with LDU back. Like, there's no denying it. Yeah. Yes, of course, Jono, your boys, the Saints versus ones, you came off the bye. Congratulations. So, I mean, you guys are going to be definitely better. The only question is, does that disrupt the balance of the midfield that you guys have got going? Because I know we added Darcy Parish.
Yeah.
And things didn't go so well for us.
I don't know, man. I'll let Causa jump in.
Where Taron Thomas plays. That's what that's the only one thing that I don't know where he'll play.
He's looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone has to be unlucky, huh?
Personally, right, and Causa can jump in on this, but feels like we're very versatile with a lot of our players, that we have a lot of guys that can rotate forward. We have a lot of guys that rotate back or go on the wing while also playing mid. So putting another guy into that kind of group of 10 or 12 players doesn't hurt as much. It's more just I can't wait to see the burst speed with LDU in the midfield plus Wardlaw. Like, you better not give us the ball because you're not getting it back.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah. No, it should be quite fun.
Oh, yeah. Man. I mean, I'm reading here. Yeah. Go for it, Trey. No, you go for it. Go for it.
I was going to say that there's rumors that Clarko's back sometime soon-ish. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I've been saying it over Twitter and Big Footy and other things. I really hope that we keep Bratton on long term. I think the culture and the things like what he's brought on for us has been amazing, and to have him as kind of a part-time coach and now the acting senior coach has been fantastic. I think these kind of players, similar to what like Choco Williams, what he did at Melbourne, I think kind of just having that type of happy-go-lucky player.
What Lepage has done as well. It's like Lepage as well at different clubs too.
Yeah, they're good to have around.
100%. But you don't think that there are certain teams with coaches under the pump or coach availability that might be looking at what Ratchin is doing, and the style of footy that you guys are playing under Ratton compared to when you were under Clarko, you're playing. It's a lot more dynamic,
totally
it's faster. It's very different, 100%, and that has what's taking advantage of the skills and the strengths that you guys have, and have been really taking it up to a lot of teams. And you
'Cause
haven't
there were
really
some
been playing
games where
poorly.
we weren't even having any pressure. Like,
Yeah,
obviously against
correct.
Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide was one example where we had no pressure, and then we obviously get smashed. But
Yep.
then, like, the last few weeks, like, there's been so many pressure moments, and like it's been better off from it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I reckon someone like Radden could have, certainly have, raised his stock
Yeah.
in the coaching market for, you never know, like someone like Richmond. They're probably on the lookout. I'm not sure they're going to be quick to re-sign this assistant coach. They're going to be
No.
looking for someone that can take advantage of a list and play some dynamic football, like what, because they're a dynamic list, and that's what
Mhm.
Rats is doing for you guys. And if they
Yeah.
come knocking on the door and they say, "Hey, Rats, want to be our head coach?" I don't think he's going to turn that down.
I hope he does, though.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I hope he does. Yeah, there's a spot for him there. I think there's some coaching changes that might need to happen at North. Outside of Clarko, I think Blakey and a couple of others are probably due to go. They've been at the club for so long and really haven't done much. I've spoken about win-loss ratio for coaches in the past, and yeah, they're definitely ones who just aren't like they'd probably be like 10% win-loss ratio, right? So if that's your coach, if he's your senior assistant coach or one of your line coaches and stuff, eventually
That's pretty bad.
no, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
I mean, if Clarko comes back, does that mean I don't know. Hopefully, you're not going to play the same way if Clarko comes back. And
Well, apparently
You never know.
Apparently, we've been playing under Clarko's instructions. It's just taken a while for like the team to mesh. So if that's the case, then I don't think there's going to be too much of a big change. It's not like there's anyone out of our best 22 that's really not been playing, like there has been for other clubs.
Really, you've been playing the same Clarko system? I mean, the difference between when he was there and then like the week after he's gone, almost
was
like
huge difference.
It's huge.
That
I
Sydney
find it
game.
hard. Yeah, correct. I find it hard to believe that it's the same system.
I think it's a mixture of
it's
both. I think it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
What I think. It's not just
That's not exactly what Clarko was teaching. I find it hard to imagine in that 1 week where he leaves, all of a sudden all the knowledge
nearly
has
beat
been
Sydney.
fully downloaded
Yeah.
and executed perfectly. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what comes of North Melbourne when he comes back, because I'd imagine maybe I don't know, because you guys have been playing really well in terms of the free flowing, but in terms of maybe
at least we have West Coast in a few weeks.
Correct. Might be a good week for him to come back in.
Battle for the spoon.
Because it's West Coast and Hawthorn back-to-back weeks, I think it is, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John is asking, is Sheasel back to half back now? Is he?
Yeah.
I'd say yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Aaron Hall's going to. There's reports that Aaron Hall might not even come back at all.
I've heard reports that he could retire at the end of the year. That's what I've heard.
Oh, I reckon he's gone regardless. I'm hearing things that he might be gone earlier. So we'll see kind of what happens with that. It's going to be fun. Ride the wave for the next time, and then hopefully we pick up Nick Watson as a small forward who's an insane gun, and then maybe grab a superstar in the trade period. Pick 2 and 3 because my guy's going.
Hope so. We don't want like another trade like overpaying for like players.
Yeah.
Mate, why is Jonas continue to rub it into Sedigo? Like, honestly, Sedigo, like, mate, he hasn't played in over a month and he's living rent-free in your mind, Jonas. Like, it is glorious to see.
Good on you, Jonas.
He is not infected, I'll have you know. He will be coming back very soon. How soon? I can't tell you how soon, but very soon. He's training well. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe next week he'll be back in. But we're not looking to change too much of the list, the makeup, because Hobbs has been really well in doing really well
Yeah.
inside.
He
Coldwell's
was
been
good.
doing really well. Yeah, so like we can't keep taking these guys out. Set a go. We paid like a future fourth for him. It's no big deal. He can play in the VFL. But what is the big takeaway or the big thing that you're hoping to see more of from North Melbourne in the back half of this year, Causa?
Well, I hope more like Paul Curtis obviously keeps getting games, and like guys like that don't play good one week, then get dropped the next week, or keep making like Stevenson kick more goals, because he looks pretty good, like compared to what he's been last year and everything, and hopefully just pray Larky gets the Coleman, hopefully.
Yeah,
True.
It's going to be like just a bit more consistency, right, from a few of our like younger players. Even Zerha, I'd put Zerha on the list. Like similar to Curtis, kind of has good games.
I was thinking that too.
Off a little bit. Yeah.
Sometimes because how he plays. Sometimes he just gets picked by his name sake, even though sometimes he doesn't play good.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
That's North Melbourne to a T.
Have you had any 2024 Supercoach thoughts? The only thought I've had for next year is, at this point in time, I'm not starting anyone over the age of 28.
I agree.
LDU would be good fun to start. I reckon it'll be value next year. Not picking any injury-prone players.
Yeah, I guess for me is kind of have a look at backline players for a lot of value. Like try and pick 3 premiums that you want, but every year there's always a couple who pop in who are like 200k. You know, your Liam Stockers, even your Liam Jones and Buckley, that kind of type who start off at 200k. Even Mitch Hinge last year, as an example, a few of those type of players who you can miss out on and really, really get punished.
And then like Michelini was just under 200, but he was
exactly.
He was like the same thing as well.
Yeah. So if you've got a few of these kind of players, I think going guns and rookies is okay. Maybe picking 1 or 2 mid prices, but what killed me this year was just going so many and like
that was me as well. I was the same, but the ones that I picked obviously started well, but then when it came to it, I just traded pretty bad, and then all of a sudden, from the back end of the buys to now, I've halved my ranks, so which is a good thing.
What was our thoughts on Coleman Jones?
Uh,
I think he can be good, but I'm just worried.
Read the name properly.
Yes, I know, Joe. That's why I've decided not to read the name.
Yeah, I read that.
Read the name properly, Big J. It's Cuckman Jones.
Cuckman Jones. All right.
Well, he could be good, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But because he's not going to get enough. If he's going to be a backup ruck, he's not going to get enough time in the ruck. If it's Sherry and Goldie still next year, say, it's going to be hard for him. I think.
How old was Goldie?
Goldie's 34. He's 34 or 35. He was drafted in 06, but didn't start till 08 or something.
Yeah, he's 34. Yeah, he's 34.
Yeah, he'll play around for a while. I think Goldie will be at his own terms, really. It's going to be interesting what happens with Coleman Jones, because it's a really big confidence thing for him. Like when he's on, it's okay.
He's on.
But then Comben's coming back too. So see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
I want to ask, just for my own Supercoach team this week, is who would you rather captain, Dawson or Laird?
Dawson.
You guys going to let Dawson off the hook?
I think so, yes. I think we tag Laird. Laird can be shut down easier over Dawson.
Fair enough. Fair
Because
enough. Alrighty.
He's, yeah.
Very good. Alrighty. Ah, mate, it's 11:15 p.m. It is so late.
Time to head off, everybody. Thanks, Causa, for coming on.
No,
we'll see you next week, right? Go Roos. Hopefully we get a win. If not,
so.
Hopefully we don't get smashed by 100 points. So,
we should. We should. It should be pretty good.
Yeah. Not with this current North Melbourne, but yeah. Thanks so much, Causa, for coming on, mate.
No, all good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Well, that's us done for now. Thanks everyone for staying on. If you guys have stayed on, it has been a big run. We have had a consistent 12, 15 people watching, so that's been bloody fantastic. Hopefully we can see you for the rest of the week. We've got our live streams tomorrow, and then the team sheets on Thursday.
That's exactly right. No, I'm loving the Sunday night schedule. Obviously, it's very late, so having people still come on and want to talk footy with us is there always a breath of fresh air. I do just want to quickly show something. It's very grandma related.
Bit of a spoiler for those 10 people that are still watching.
Grandma's kitchen, she be cooking. Ranked 103, baby. 103.
Yeah,
mate. It's a chance. It's every chance. It's a full premium team, but I'll just leave it at that for those of you guys in the chat who
video coming out tomorrow, probably, guys.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, it's looking really good. Some sneaky grandma, some creepy grandma money.
Yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad.
All right, guys. Subscribe to Fancast if you haven't already. We're doing lots of stuff. Recording on Fridays, uploading during the week. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great guys.
Yes, indeed.
Have a great day.
Good night, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.